I'm Glenn Hilliard. I was in love with the lands above Joe Cassie Lake and along the Chattooga River long before anybody convinced me that there could be a trail in there. I grew up in the country in Anderson County, and I was in the Boy Scouts, and it was that early introduction to the outdoors that convinced me that getting closer to nature was really the thing that's going to help people live a better life, enjoy better health, enjoy getting rid of some of the pressures that we were all facing in those days, and even more so facing in these days. The trail's spectacular. It passes through the Blue Ridge Escarpment, which is one of the most incredible areas in the whole world. It's where the tops of the mountains from the Appalachians drop down to the lowlands and the low hills of upstate South Carolina and North Carolina, and it literally is irreplaceable.
So the Foothills Trail is a 77-mile trail that spans across the Blue Wall, which was the Cherokee words for the Southern Blue Ridge Escarpment. This trail traverses through rugged wilderness from Oconee State Park to Table Rock State Park.
You know, the Foothills Trail is going to show you some of the most beautiful aspects of this country that you could ever see. No matter which end you start on, it's going to give you so much variety from these beautiful high ridge lines that you're going to be on, the rock outcrops like Bald Knob and Drawbar Cliffs, Sassafras Mountain, the tremendous views, but then it'll also take you down into these creek bottoms and places that the whole different ecosystem. And then the next thing you know, in just minutes, you'll be up on a dry ridge line, another entire different ecosystem, different animals to see, different plants to check out. And then there's all the water, the waterfalls, and the beautiful wild rivers, just more than I can name.
My name is Tricia Kaiser, and I am on the board of directors for the Foothills Trail Conservancy. The Foothills Trail Conservancy is an organization that protects, preserves, and keeps this area promoted to local people. We also help maintain the trail.
So Glenn Hilliard is our founding chairman and is a co-founder of the Foothills Trail. Glenn was one of the driving forces behind getting the trail built. There was a lot of different folks who had ideas about, hey, let's have some kind of a long distance hiking trail in the upstate, but there was no general consensus on how to do it or where it should start and end. And what Glenn did was he brought everybody together at one table when they formed the Foothills Trail Conference.
And I got started at all this in the 60s and the 70s. The Sierra Club and a lot of other conservation groups were really working hard to protect some exquisite areas. And there was always an interest in trying to have a long trail through that wilderness area. It was an incredible group of people, and some of those people started with me 50 years ago and only recently have retired. I think it's one of the greatest trails in the world. I've hiked all over the western U.S. and certainly all through the Appalachians, and I can tell you that the experience on that trail was worth every bit of the energy it took to get it done.
And so from 1974 was when they had their very first board meeting, and less than 10 years later, the trail was in existence. I'll try to make sure that my focus remains on the Foothills Trail, not so much the Conservancy. It's real easy being chairman to just get so wrapped up in the Conservancy and the business end of it and all the events and the things we're doing, and you forget the real reason you're involved, and that's the actual little path through the woods. Because that's where my heart is at, is out there. And so I try to make sure that I take time and go out there and spend time in the woods, spend time on the trail, and to make sure that I don't forget why I'm doing this.
Hi, I'm Jim Maneri, out here hiking with 3 of my children. Actually, I have 4, but one's not much of a hiker. I have my oldest daughter, Rachel, and my other 2 children, Emily and Alex, who are both finishing up school.
That's very new for me.
So 2 years ago, during COVID, we were trying to come up with something fun to do. So we ended up doing a 5-day hike, the Quahana Trail in central Pennsylvania. We all decided we wanted to do one this year. Alex insisted that it had to be epic. I emailed the Foothills Conservancy website, and I got a phone call back from Hayward Douglas. For his introduction, I thought was great because he has a wonderful, southern, friendly accent, and he introduced himself as Hayward Douglas, the retired but still very active chairman of the Foothills Trails Conservancy. He knew that we had hiked Pennsylvania, and he told me that we would love South Carolina and the Foothills Trail because he had hiked Pennsylvania when he did the through hike of the Appalachian Trail, and that it was way too rocky and it wasn't all that much fun, and Foothills Trail was going to be a whole lot better.
If you want to get trained to go on the Appalachian Trail and you do a through hike of the Foothills Trail, your journey will be almost 100% like what you're going to encounter on the Appalachian Trail. We have the sections just as tough as most of the places on the AT. The terrain and the foliage and whatnot are very similar. If you want to have something to test you, there's plenty of tests on the Foothills Trail.
So we came all the way from Pennsylvania to hike this trail. I'm not in as good a shape as I had hoped, despite hiking around my neighborhood with weights in my backpack. It's a really pretty trail, very well maintained. Not nearly as many rocks as Pennsylvania, just as many routes, but not as many rocks.
The trail so far has been awesome. I think one of my favorite parts about it is that, every mile just seems like different terrain, different trees, different mushrooms, different snakes. It makes it, hiking worthwhile.
Like it almost, to me, it seems like this obstacle course with all like the bridges, the stairs going up, down, the ladder stairs, which is like the coolest part. I love the trail so far. I've seen 2 snakes, I've seen red salamanders. There's just a lot of life on this trail.
Oh, the trail is awesome. I mean, it's, every trail I've ever done is always harder than I think it's going to be, and this one falls in that category. But I think what was really cool for me was just how different the sort of flora and fauna was, because we were in a rainforest and then we were up higher. That old growth section was really cool. Always being next to water was just awesome.
Something really exciting about this place is the diversity that's here, the ecology. People they pay thousands of dollars to go all over the world to travel to exotic places, and yet we have an exotic place in our backyard. On the Foothills Trail, we have nearly 100 species of native trees, all mixed into this one area. Here we have an incredible diversity of salamanders, of ferns. There's actually a fern here that grows in the cloud forests of Mexico and in the Jocassee Gorges. There's a moss that grows in the Dominican Republic and then also here in our own backyard. We have plants like the Oconee Bell, which is just sequestered in this one little tiny area. We have just this incredible diversity that was squeezed into here in this one small place.
You are in the depths of some of the wildest territory around here. There are certain places that are mountain coves right here on Sassafras down to Laurel Valley, from Whitewater Falls down to Bad Creek. The hillsides are like an open classroom. The wildflowers are right there. Just the whole gamut of wildflowers are out there to be seen. And then what do we have here in the mountains from late September to early November is the fall color. I mean, it is just spectacular. One of the other notable things that's even pointed out in our guidebook and on the front of the map is there are waterfalls everywhere, significant waterfalls. Highest waterfall in the eastern United States is Upper Whitewater Falls, and the Foothills Trail goes right there where you can look directly at it.
Well, I'm Bill Ranson. I have been teaching at Furman University since 1979, and so my passion has been for the geology of this area. My research and recreation has been associated with the Foothills Trail for, 40 years now. It starts by looking at all the outcrops and making observations and measurements at individual outcrops. Each one of those observations becomes a piece of the puzzle, and we put those pieces of the puzzle together to build the bigger picture of the geologic history of an area. I like to say to the students, every rock has a story, and the Foothills Trail contains 1.2 billion years of Earth's history or Earth's story. It's a great asset for teaching about geology and geologic history and mountain building. We're here in the southern Appalachians, one of the oldest mountain chains on Earth and with a long, protracted history. Some believe that it might have been in its earlier years as high as the Alps, and now has been, because of hundreds of millions of years of weathering, has been weathered down to a more gentle, rounded mountain chain as opposed to the Rockies or the Alps. The trail goes along the Blue Ridge Escarpment, either at the base or up onto the escarpment in various places. So the escarpment is a big topographic change. You go from, say, at Lake Jocassee about 11 or 1,200 feet up to over 3,000 feet, on Sassafras and Table Rock. So you've got this huge change in elevation over a short distance. And as a result, streams flowing off of the Appalachian highlands on top of the escarpment down into the Piedmont form lots of waterfalls. So we have beautiful waterfalls along the trail. So I think that's one of the major features that the trail offers. Unlike the Appalachian Trail, which is a ridgecrest trail, we're down in the valleys, and a lot of these stream valleys, we have a lot of beautiful water features. The Appalachians are what we call folded and thrusted mountains. So they're a result of compressive forces where plates are coming together. And what that has done is has metamorphosed the rocks and also deformed them. So it's like taking a rug. If you push a throw rug up against the wall, it's going to rumple up. And so the same thing happens to rocks when they're at depth. Under a lot of pressure and temperature, they will rumple up or fold. And we see evidence of this along the Foothills Trail, hiking from Table Rock to Sassafras and some of the gneisses. It's especially well exposed along the Chattooga River, where you can see better these big folds in some of the schists and gneisses that are interlayered there. The Earth is a dynamic planet. Change is always happening. The mountains are still evolving. Now the evolution is related to the rivers eating into the Blue Ridge Escarpment and debris slides and flows. So as you go from Table Rock to Sassafras, you encounter some boulder fields, which are the result of these mass wasting events where you have rocks suddenly moving down.
I think we don't even know all that is here to be protected yet. We know that it's full of diversity, but I think it's even more full of diversity than we realize. There's this big picture all around us of the trail and of the Jocassee Gorges, but it's really fun to zoom into the small details that make this place what it is. I love the plants, I love the birds, but when you begin to understand the mycology that's happening all around us, not only does that include mushrooms, but it also includes lichens. They're part fungus and part bacteria and algae. Beautiful organisms that have figured out a way to live in places that nothing else can live. They'll live on a hot rock face, they'll live at the base of a tree. There's some pretty unique lichens in this area. And the fungi are the connectors. The mycological world underneath us are the threads that connect one tree to another or one plant to another. There are mysteries here still waiting to be discovered. There are ecologies here that we don't even know about yet. So how cool that we have what we have now, and how can we keep it that way for future generations? Every winter, the lakes up north freeze over, and as they freeze over, there's a bird called the common loon that is not a flying bird for long. It's more of a swimming bird. It's not a land bird, I should say. So when those lakes freeze over, the common loon has to migrate. There is a migratory population of loons every winter on Lake Jocassee. Researchers come from all over because they're contained in a calm body of water, and there's even been discoveries made about the wintering behavior of loons thanks to the research that's gone on Lake Jocassee.
My name is Sherry Apps, ABTS. I have been volunteering with the loon researchers since 1993. I've done it in Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and now in the wintering grounds here in South Carolina at Lake Jocassee. So this is a really special opportunity. It's a beautiful lake with all the things that loons need for a winter stopover as well as a winter resting place. This lake wasn't even here until '73, so how did the loons figure that out first? So this is really the cutting edge of an amazing new whole set of data points. We head out and get to that area before the sun rises, and then we sit and we wait where we just stay really quiet. So the first thing that we're looking for is documentation of their vocalizing. The loons are near the top of the food web, so they are an indicator of a very healthy habitat. So if loons are landing here and spending the whole winter, this is a very different lake. It's way deeper, built with a bunch of rivers. It's got 16 or more waterfalls. It's stocked with fish. It's very clear. Basically a temperate rainforest that has all kinds of special flowers, specialized plants, salamanders, stuff that's nowhere else. It is a special habitat and ecosystem in itself, besides the fact that the loons happen to be here. What happens next is called the launch window, when they're really launching into the whole activity of, am I going to migrate today? So they loop and they make all these circles to get higher and higher and higher, and then at some point when they're up high, then they make the decision, okay, I'm ready to go north. They'll try some running across the water because it takes them a really long time, almost a quarter of a mile to get up. It goes from totally quiet to just this explosion. We actually are going around in circles like this, watching the same bird to see, is it going to keep going around? Oh no, it's going down. Oh no, it's going back up again. Oh no, it's going down. Oh, I'm losing it in the tree line. So it's really chaotic.
Having quiet, safe places for them to go for the wintertime is essential. Whether it is the common loon or in the summertime we have the scarlet tanagers who rely on returning here every summer, and they're hoping that their nesting trees are still here. So as we protect the Jocassee Gorges and the Foothills Trail area, not only are we protecting the things that are residents here, but we're protecting animals that are just passing through for a season. We are in a temperate rainforest. That is mind-blowing. A lot of people, when they think of a rainforest, they think of a tropical rainforest, which would be closer to the equator. So our latitude is higher up, but we still receive an average of 80 to 100 inches of rain a year, depending on what part of the Foothills Trail you're on. That's a lot of rain. If you compare that to Greenville, Asheville, they receive about half the rain that we receive here in this temperate rainforest. We also have at least a 70% tree cover, which is another marker for a temperate rainforest. So we've got this green canopy that's consistently over us, and we have the huge amount of rain that's falling throughout the year. Then you have the gorges that carve through here, so you got a lot of things going on. The gorges actually kind of hold in some of that moisture and humidity and create little microclimates as you're traveling down these river corridors.
Topography has a major influence on weather patterns. So warm air coming up from the Gulf would hit the Appalachian Mountains and the Blue Ridge Escarpment in particular. And as that air rises, it cools. Cool air cannot hold as much water as warm air, and so we have moisture condensing and falling as rain. So here along the escarpment, rainfall is much greater than it is down on the Piedmont back towards Greenville or Clemson.
The only other rainforest in the continental United States is out in the Pacific Northwest. So this is very unique in the continental United States to have a temperate rainforest.
This is day 3. We are on mile 30.9, I think. It started raining 20 minutes into our hike today, but we're loving it. It feels really good, and we're planning on camping at Bear Camp Creek today.
Hayward gave no indication of it being this wet. And nobody mentioned a rainforest, which might have given us a clue. But I did bring at least one waterproof. You guys brought nothing.
No. Feeling good though.
Right. So we got to get moving so you guys don't get cold. It really has been wonderful. Exceeded expectations in terms of sort of beauty and sort of natural setting. Just tougher than I thought it was going to be, but like I said, they're always tougher than you think they're going to be. So, I have an eye disease that gives me tunnel vision. So I have no periphery and no light receptors. So dim light is difficult. And seeing a trail out in front of me is hard. So the kids, have, had to help me navigate. And I have been really blessed. Everybody gets something. If this is the worst that I get, then, it's a blessing.
Go to the right. Step on to that big one.
All right, Dad. One step up on a bridge, handrail to the left.
But the kids are awesome. Like, they know that I can't do this without their help. And I think that's really special. As they become older, they have other options and interests. And they're really good kids, and they're smart, and they're active, and they have other interests, and they have friend groups. So the fact that they would choose to do this for a third time is special to me. This is invaluable for me, and I hiked with my dad quite a bit, who passed away just a year ago. You know, these are memories similar to what I had with my dad that I'll never forget. You know, that I hope that they will never forget. I don't know who built all these bridges, but I mean, what a heroic effort. I mean, these campsites are fantastic. I mean, they're in the middle of nowhere, so. To the people who volunteer, I'm sure they break it up into sections, and there are people who are in charge of it, and who get out there on some regular basis, to clean them, make sure that the campsites are in good order. I mean, just, thank you, because it's amazing. Those come across as just giant random acts of kindness when you're walking on a trail and there's something so special that took such an effort, and they aren't even there to see you enjoying, right? Like, they went in, did all that work, and hope that people will wander along and really appreciate it. So it's appreciated.
It's incredible how much work it requires to maintain a hiking trail. The people that work to maintain that trail are unbelievable. They spend their weekends working all day long, hauling stuff in to rebuild steps, to put in rocks, to dig out trails that have washed away. Tough people.
Well, trail maintenance is fun. It's not work. It's fun. Even though you may get tired, you may get sweaty, but it's just fun. And to be able, that intrinsic reward of being able to walk back through a section where you helped work on it, and you can look at that tree that you helped cut, or that place that you rebuilt the trail, or the log you rolled over and it's laying there, and you get to see that. It's like nothing but good memories. I guess it goes back to just a simple thing of leave it better than you found it. Hikers or backpackers or trail maintainers, and so all those folks are all just like kindred spirits, so I have made so many great friends since I've been involved with the Conservancy and coming out on the trail. I mean, I can't name them all, and not just friendships but mentors. Like my friend Hayward Douglas, he has taught me so much about trail maintenance and nature, and the birds flying around and the insects that's crawling around on the ground, and he's always sharing something with me and teaching me things, and great man with great wisdom.
The entire maintenance of the trail, about 90-something% of it is volunteers, and if we didn't have a good cadre of volunteers that we could go out and draw from, this project certainly wouldn't have come together. And of course, I've got several friends, or maybe they used to be friends. When this project's over, they may not be anymore. But no, volunteerism is the key to really having one of the best trails around here.
I'm just thankful for, the way the trail is maintained, and everybody out here is just so passionate about the Foothills Trail. You can see it in every sign that's made, in every bear hang that's set up at your campsite, and every fire ring. Everyone we've talked to is just so supportive of the trail, and it really shows, and it's made our experience so much better, and it's definitely worth it.
We know the value of what we have here, this beautiful place we live, and having this awesome trail to get out and hike and get away from everything and just have that experience that you can't get hardly anywhere else. Our mission is to conserve what we have and to take care of it and to keep that trail there for the next generation and the generation after that.
Glenn Hilliard saw that people needed to be invited in to see what an incredible place it was, and invited in a way that still preserved and protected the space, but allowed people to be connected enough to also want to protect it.
I was hired by a Dutch company to go to Denver, and up until that time, for 25 years, I had been one of the primary leaders of the Foothills Trail. When I left, the group decided, without my knowledge, that they ought to do something to recognize me. And so the board of that time found an unnamed waterfall. Well, having the waterfalls named in my honor is one of the most incredible things that has ever happened to me, that really meant something to me. Only in the last 10 years have I been back, and actually I didn't walk in the whole way. I don't think I could make it quite that far these days. But I went in and literally there were 30 or 40 people that had picked the same day just coincidentally to be there. And it was a moving experience for those young people to come up and introduce themselves and tell me how much it meant to them to be out on the trail and to be able to have that kind of experience. I love every footstep on that trail and every wildflower that is along the sides and every tree that's there. It's like asking me which of my children is the favorite. They're all my favorite children. Some days I have a favorite part of the trail, but it's all my favorite trail.
I come into the wilderness with a backpack on that has at times been a little heavy. You know, you've got your sleeping bag and your tent and your food, and the heaviness of that backpack still doesn't compare to the heaviness of life in our society. And so coming out here is kind of a relief of the burdens of the busyness of our world. It's a place where I can connect to being human, not just as a part of society, but being human as a part of a wild ecosystem. I'm one of the many millions of species that exist on this earth. And when I'm out here, I'm reduced to just being human.
The Foothills Trail changed my life for the better. Every time I go out, it just resets me. Physically, spiritually, emotionally, I just have an improved frame of mind. And that's what the Foothills Trail's done for me from the moment that I set foot on it. It's obvious that there's something at work out here that's greater than we can actually see, but you can definitely feel it. And that's how when you come home, you feel so much better. You know, when you're out here, you feel so recharged. It's because we're plugged back into, there's a life force that's out here. That I can't see it, but I can feel it. And just being out here among the trees and the rocks and the rivers and the streams, and even the dirt, this is everything. This is home for man. We just don't realize it. We want to live in a box in town, but this is home. And when your body, you're back out here, your spirit says, hey, I'm back where I'm supposed to be. These places are so important in preserving them and caring for them, spending time in them. It's everything to me.
I guess when people come out here on the trail, what my hope for them is that they're reminded of who they are and how they fit into something that's bigger than themselves.
Because of what I genuinely believe is the power and the value of green spaces, I've always felt that it was my responsibility to introduce people to that same kind of love for the outdoors. I can help bring them peace, I can help bring them excitement, I can help recognize and honor other people. To do that kind of thing is my way to say that I may be able to leave this world a better place.